I've got 3 or 4 things I'm going to try to do today. And one is, we were talking about stress a couple of weeks ago, and it's something that stays on my mind. Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." And earlier in that chapter, he said, don't worry about your life, what you're going to eat or drink. And don't worry about your body, what kind of clothes you're going to put on. So don't worry, period, about anything. Don't worry like people who don't know God, because that's a major difference between us and the people who don't know God. We don't have to worry about it. But then there's another verse, verse 34. Don't seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. All your food, your clothes, and if those are the most basic, so that means everything else you're going to need. Last week, things happened every day. Sharon was picking up the kids at school, and the fellow leaned out the window when she was going there. She said, "You got a big bubble on your tire." And so when we got back home, I looked at it, and sure enough it was. And so then we were going to decide what to do. And we buy stuff at Tire Discount. So she ran around there, and they said, "Yep, it's gone." Said we can't fix that. And so that was $700.
Wow. Replaced 2 of them.
Got to place 2 of them because it was a drive tire. And like I think I said something to somebody. Sometimes what they can do is that they can grind the tire that they put on to make it the same level as the other side. So they're about the same size, because if they don't. And or Sharon said, "Well, why do they have to do that?" And so I went ahead and explained it, knowing that that was a little over her head, because she's not mechanical minded. And I said, that's the reason you have a differential, because one tire has to float while you turn the corner. And so different things like that. So anyway, they said, we'll just buy you 2 tires at $350 a piece, because they have to match the tires in the back, even though it wasn't a 4-wheel car. So at any rate, what I'm trying to get across is that Jesus said every day is trouble for that day. There's going to be trouble for that day. Now, I don't know what it's going to be today, but there's going to be trouble today for every one of us of some sort. Sufficient is every day for the trouble that you're going to have that day. So there's a warning that there's going to be some kind of trouble that happens. Don't know what it is, but Jesus promised trouble every day. So that means we've got to have some system in our lives to deal with stress. He could have said, you're going to have stress every day, and there's going to be a sufficient amount of stress for every day. Now, that all started a long, long time ago with Adam and Eve. And when Adam sinned, God said, there's going to be weeds in the garden, Adam. You're not just going to plant that seed like you used to do, and it just grows up, and you went out there and picked yourself something to eat, and it was ready to go. There's going to be weeds in it that's going to sap all the strength out of the tomato plant. You're going to have to take care of that. There's going to be worms that are going to eat it. There's going to be birds that come along and eat everything you've planted. There's going to be some kind of problem with your garden every day. Now, translate that today. You're going to be typing along, and all of a sudden a virus is going to jump in your computer, and you're going to have stress because you're going to lose everything. I remember a lady in Brazil. She bought one of the missionaries. She bought one of those electric typewriters that had a little memory in it. Now that is old timey stuff. It just and she was typing along, and she forgot to save the stuff and turned the computer off. She said, "Where did my stuff go?" I turned it back on, it's not there anymore. I said, well, did you save it? No, was I supposed to? And, I said, well, welcome to the cyber world. That happens to everybody sooner or later, that it disappears. Or, like something happened to me one time, the power supply looked the same as another inlet, and I plugged it into my external hard drive, but it ran something else, and so it burnt the whole thing up, and I carried it down to the computer shop. Can you fix this? He said, no, you burnt that thing up.
Oh, man.
And so, fortunately, I'm a fanatic on backing things up. I've got things backed up so many times, I don't know where anything is. Like another fellow, he said that, he never throws anything away. He always saves everything. And so he's talking about his father-in-law who never throws anything away. He said, but it doesn't really matter. He's not any different than the fellow that throws everything away. When he needs it, he can't find it, so he still has to go buy it. Because he's got so much stuff saved, he doesn't know where he saved it. And so what I'm trying to get at is you've got to have a plan to deal with circumstances that come along. And you got to be prepared for it. Because God's going to do it. There's going to be a problem every day. God promised that to Adam. Now, I don't know if that promise goes to Eve as well, but you're going to cook a cake and the oven's not going to work right and it's going to burn it up, or something's going to happen but the reason for that, the reason for it, is that you seek Him. That's the purpose of everything that happens, is that you seek Him. That's the reason we have problems every day. And I know that Jason went through the book of James a few weeks ago, and he said, rejoice that you are encountering different types of trials, because those trials cause you to seek the Lord. If you didn't have any trials, we'd soon forget them. So those trials. So every day, the first thing you do when your feet hit the floor, I thank the Lord that God created man on the 6th day. Now, when God created man on the 6th day, everything that He needed had already been provided. He didn't create Adam and Eve and then looked around and said, oh, hey, I forgot something. I forgot to create air, I forgot to create water. I mean, everything was already provided. Nothing he needed was lacking. So, and I don't do this every time, but not majority of the time, when I put my hand on the doorknob, because I got to do things that cause me to remember. When I put my hand on the doorknob to leave the house, I say, Lord, I don't know what I'm going to run into today, but I do know that you have already given me everything I need when I walk out the door. I don't know what's out there. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know that everything I need has already been given. So whether it's health, finances, and I think, so Lord, I hate to spend this money on this tire, but I'm thankful that you gave me the good sense to save a little bit, so I'll have it when I get it. Now, I also thank you that I was able to help Sharon understand what was going on. And I said, what did you hit? I don't know what I hit. Now, the Lord helped me control that. I said, when did you hit it? I don't know. Well, it was on the front right side, and it bent the tire. It didn't bend the rim, but it bent it up. And so I said, okay, well, it's all right. So things happen. Things do go wrong at times, and you've got to learn to control what you say, what you do, how you react, and not get upset, not get mad, not get disturbed. I sit there and I thought, well, there's a whole lot of things I could have bought with that $700, but you know, that's, God knows that too. And so I'll just let that go. And so what I'm trying to get at is you gotta have a plan to deal with everyday difficulties. So what are you gonna do? Do you have that plan? You gotta have it together. And so, one of the things that I do, my plan is, I read the Psalms, 5 Psalms every day. Run that through. Every day, I'll read my 5 Psalms. And every day, all through the book of Psalms, there is one of those 5 Psalms, 1 through 5, or 6 through 10, and then by the end of the month, you've gone through 150 Psalms. Every one of them will have something in there. Lord, you've already supplied my needs. Lord, I thank you for what's going to happen. There's a psalm that controls your emotions, that controls your attitude, that controls your spirit before the Lord. And then if you read one proverb every day, there's one proverb, 1 through 31, that will help you have wisdom to know how to handle the situation. So you need something to control your emotions, and you need something to control your your wisdom of how to deal with it. And so that's my plan. So now I'm throwing it out. Does anybody have a plan? Do you have a plan to handle the weeds in the garden every day? Have you developed one? You may not have my plan, but you gotta have some kind of plan. Now, I got my plan from listening to somebody else talk to me about how to develop a plan, and then I'm gonna read something else in a minute. But do you have a plan to deal with? And one of the other things that happen is that why are the Pentecostal churches growing so fast in Brazil and Baptists don't grow too fast? And one of the fellows said, the reason you Baptists are not growing is because you don't have a worry and wart message. You've got a great message of what happens after you die and go to heaven, but you don't have a worry and wart message. And you go in Brazil, they have a lot of seances. They said, have you lost something? Come in here and we'll help you find what you lost. Come in here and we'll help you find a job. Do you have a worry and wart message? Do you have something that helps you deal with the worry and warts of everyday life? So, anyway, I keep on going, but I'm going to stop and see, do you have a worry and wart message? Do you have a plan to help you control your emotions and wisdom when things don't go right?
I just pray.
Right on the spot.
Yeah. Yes, I just pray and ask the Lord to help me get through it,
Mm-hmm.
and He does.
I take a lot of deep breaths when I think I might go off on something. And you'd be surprised, it lowers your blood pressure, calms you down. Like, well, that guy probably didn't mean to cut me off, because nobody wants to hit anybody else. I want to be like Judy though, be chilled all the time.
Well, when I first wake up in the morning, I just always say, Lord, whatever's your will this day, let it be done. And what I've done since 1997, when I completely came over to the Lord, because the way the Lord attacked me was with Psalms 27. And every day when I get up and I say that psalm every day, the Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, of whom or what shall I be afraid of? Mm-hmm. And that's been my plan for a long time.
So you're ready for most anything that happened that day?
Most anything that happened that day.
Judy, you look like you're gonna say something.
I've talked enough, I need to be quiet.
No, you're not talking enough.
No, I was just gonna, I would just say that my favorite verse, I'm reminded of every day, and that's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6.
Mhm.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not unto your own understanding, no matter what happens. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct my paths wherever they go. That's just my motto, so to speak. That's it.
Ray, I'll share something I learned this week, actually, really last Friday, that has been interesting. You know, having a 4-year-old and trying to teach him those things too is difficult, and helping him to understand how to control emotions and handle those things. We learned about a thing, it's called the zones of regulation. It's these 4 colors, red, yellow, blue, and green. And so green is when you're calm and everything's fine and you're good to go. And then yellow is like when you start to get either excited or anxious, or, you know, for a kid, silly, different things like that. When you start to lose that regulation. And then red is when you're just out of control. And it can be anything from being angry to being elated, all those different extreme emotions. And then blue is like sadness and things like that. And so they're teaching him these colors to make it very simple. You know, are you green right now? Are you yellow? And I thought, you know, that's something adults can use too, to just kind of check in on yourself. You know, yep, I'm good to go right now. Or if you start to feel those kind of yellow things, you know, that's where you can really stop and take that time to pray before you get to the extremes of the red. And so, you know, it's a little simple concept for a 4-year-old that can work for adults too.
Mhm.
I said I wasn't gonna talk, but I will share one little thing that's, you know, of course, all of y'all know my youngest son was blind, and he said, we were asking him about how he sees things. And one thing that he described on, like, emotions, and he said, when he sees sticks and balls, I mean, it's hard for me to even imagine, but he said little sticks and balls that move around, that's his emotions. And he said, if I'm calm and everything's nice, he said, they're just kind of there. But he said, if I get excited or something, you know, they start moving around real fast. I mean, this is what he sees in his mind. But he said then if something's scary, he said, they're just so moving so fast, I can't even see them. He says, just like you know, but I just thought that was interesting, the way he felt emotion, the way he described it to us. Kind of interesting. And trying to control those emotions too, you know.
Those comments about the colors, that's a scientific fact. And painters, smart painters that do a lot of remodeling, have got a kind of a guideline they go by. If you're painting the kitchen, paint it yellow. That's a good color. It's a warm, cheerful color, and then to get out there in the morning and eat breakfast and you're ready to go. If you want to be excited, paint it red. Red is exciting.
That's my favorite color, so.
Well,
Maybe that explains it.
My aunt had her ceiling painted red as long as she lived in the house for 50 years.
Well, that's an exciting color, and then green is calming. That's the reason when you take a walk through the wilderness down here, you can calm down and deal with problems better. That's provided by our Creator. That's the reason we're not programmed to live in towers. We're programmed to live next to the earth, and the more you can get out there to it, the better off you are. And it's the green color that has an awful lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Blue sky.
Well, and that's true in marketing too. When companies do branding for companies and they decide what color's your logo gonna be and stuff like that, they think about those types of things and what emotion those colors can bring out. You know, like you don't see, you know, if it's something like a bank or something that you wanna have a lot of trust in, you don't see certain colors in their color schemes as often, you know, versus if it's like a sports team or something like that, you see all kinds of colors for those because there's, you know, so many different things. So yeah, it's interesting how all that works.
Well, I know, that's one tangential thing to that. I'll furnish the vinyl to do it. I wanna reupholster the stuff in the weight room up there, just a weight machine, cause that's not the original upholstery. It's got some kind of a cover on it. It was blue originally. Now blue is not that great. It was bright blue. That's not really a good gym color. So I may be getting some opinions on what color vinyl to get, because it does need recovering. And a lot of the stuff that they covered over the original with is starting to fray now because it's real thin. I thought it might could be dyed, but it's wearing all the way through in some places, so it'll be vinyl. Blue's okay, but with that chrome machine, I've been shining on that thing all week, by the way, because I know we're gonna have new people coming through here and I want to make a good impression. But the only thing wrong with it now is it just needs reupholstering, and the vinyl's fairly cheap, so I'll donate that. But I'm trying to figure out what color, so suggestions would be nice. Red would be exciting color for it. Most of that kind of thing in gyms is black,
Yeah.
particularly if you got a chrome background, because that you go in there and it wakes you up. And so I'm thinking about it either way, but anyhow, that's gonna be a suggestion that I have, and I'll do the work. It's not hard to reupholster those things. They unscrew, you take them off, and it's just a piece of wood, you wrap the vinyl around it and stick it together with staples. But I favor black.
Yeah.
That makes the most sense.
That's business-like, black and white, black and chrome. We're gonna get down to business and get strong. So that's what I'm thinking, for black.
Years and years ago, I worked in a psychiatric facility for adolescents. And, they decided they were gonna repaint the day room. And, they were gonna paint it pink, and these were boys, okay? These were 13, 14-year-old boys.
They wouldn't go in there, that's an insult.
Well, I didn't like it, but they done all this research, you know, to see if the pink was supposed to be calming. And once they got over the insult of having a pink day room, it really did make a difference. I mean, they were real calm. And so I decided, I want my classroom painted. And I picked a real pale pink. I mean, it was just barely pink. But it worked real well. So, I don't know. It seemed to work.
You know, one thing I would like to add about the morning, starting the morning, I have to guard myself when I first wake up to try to keep my thoughts positive. Because if you start thinking maybe you've got something today that you're not so excited about doing or having to do, if you turn that switch off the minute you get up, and like you said, Lord, I know you've got the day already taken care of for me. Because if you're not careful and the first thought you get, you wake up with a thought that you don't need to be thinking about, it can influence your whole day.
Well, with reference to the day, Israel in the Old Testament, the day doesn't begin when the sun comes up. The day begins when the sun goes down. And the evening and morning were the first day, the second day, the third day, fourth day, fifth day. So the day actually begins at sundown. That's when the day begins.
Mm-hmm.
So when he says, give me this day our daily bread, that, I think I went over this one time, but it's such a significance in my life that I'll go over and over it again. The give us today, as they studied that phrase, that is a to-do list. They found that in Egypt when they were digging around in Egypt, in the sand, which preserves, in the sand, it preserves the Old Testament, the text, better than in a hot, humid climate of Israel. And so they dug up a piece of scripture, and they found out that what it was a to-do list for what that person was gonna do today. Go to the grocery store, wash the clothes, buy all the food. That is a to-do list. Then the other thing that they found out is today actually meant tomorrow. So it's not just tomorrow, but it's the rest of your plan. We all have, most of us anyway, have scheduled. This is what my to-do list is gonna be. This is what I've got plans for the next month. This is what I got plans for the next year. My plans are what I want. And so if we go to bed at night worried about what's gonna happen tomorrow, the next day, and on down the line, But if we go to bed at night, thanking the Lord that tomorrow has already been taken care of, we go to sleep. Because a lot of times we don't sleep good at night because we're thinking about what's going to go on tomorrow and the next day. We're thinking about our problems tomorrow. But if you go to bed, and that Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord with all your plans. So you say, Lord, these are my plans. And the next thing you know, you're sound asleep. Knowing that the Lord has already got all those to-do lists already taken care of when you go to bed. And you don't have to worry about it. So you're just like the bird. Bird doesn't plant a garden, harvest. The flowers, they're not worried about looking pretty. And so you go to bed knowing that everything tomorrow has already been taken care of. And you can sleep good. You're with it. You don't have to take anything to go to sleep. And before you know it, you're sound asleep, knowing that everything's already taken care of. So that's the time to turn everything over to the Lord. Not that turning it over in the morning is not good, but that happened to me several years ago when I saw that lesson. If I start worrying about something before I go to sleep, I said, Lord, you've already got that taken care of. You already got that one taken care of. That one's already taken care of. So why am I worried about it when you're going to be up all night? You're not going to go to bed. So why should I worry about something that you've already got taken care of? So anyway, that's another little part of my plan. So you got to have a plan every time you're worried. And then you know the scripture, what time I am afraid, I will trust in the Lord. So I look forward to being afraid, because that means the Lord is prompting me to trust him for something. At what time I am afraid, casting all your care, Philippians, cast all your cares upon him because he cares for you. So now you got to ask a question, does the Lord care about me or not? And if he does, then I'm just going to cast my cares upon him. So I look forward to worrying about something. Because that means that I've got another reason to turn things over to the Lord and let him handle it. So everything that comes to you, that's what James says, rejoice when you fall into all kinds of temptations. And there's temptations to worry, stress, fear. All those are different kinds of temptations. And so I just rejoice when you have all those worries and all those fears. And
You
that
and
way.
James on the same page, aren't you?
Do it now?
You and James are on the same page.
Yeah.
Consider it pure joy, my brother, when you face trials many times.
Mm-hmm.
Paraphrase.
Now that's to me, y'all probably have already read a little something about judo and all that kind of stuff. That use your enemy's strength to defeat them. And so Satan is going to try to throw everything at you. He's the accuser of the brother. And so when he says you're not worthy of all this, sometimes we worry about, well, I know I'm worthy, and this is all the reasons why I'm worthy, and you'll lose that lesson. So if you say, I'm not worthy, yeah, Satan, I appreciate you reminding me of that, because I know I'm not worthy, but that's the reason Jesus died for me. He died for the unworthy. He died for the sinner. I know I am. And so I appreciate you reminding me of that, because I'd forgotten that a little bit. And so everything that happens is going to turn around. I had my follow-up visit over at Southern Hills, Lanny Holmes, yesterday, and I've got a little knot right here on my chest. And he said, you got anything bothering you? I said, yeah, this little knot right here. I said, well, you know, it's kind of worrying me. He said, that's nothing. He said, it's always been there. He said, that's part of the end of your sternum moves back and forth. It's always been there. He said, you were just too fat to feel it. Cause I told him I'd lost 20 pounds. I said, it just seems like it's just come up recently.
You fix to feel it.
So I said, well, God, I thought it was some kind of cancer that just grew up all of a sudden. He said, no, everybody's got one, except maybe some athletes about hit it real hard and it breaks off, but everybody's got that little thing right there. Said you just couldn't feel it with all that weight you had. Don't worry about it. You got anything else to worry about? So, at any rate, you start worrying about it. But anyway, I was gonna take a look at Isaiah 43 when I was going over some of this. Somehow or another, cause I kept working on stress, because if I ever wanted to preach on a topic that everybody's got, and everybody's got a problem, it's gonna be stress. And so I'm still developing that. Y'all don't have to keep hearing it over and over again, but it's a topic that Jesus said every day you're gonna have a problem. So I could almost say every day you're gonna have stress. So you just take care of the stress that you have today, and tomorrow will take care of itself. Because if you do what you're supposed to do today, you're gonna be somewhat prepared for tomorrow. So you're gonna have, you can almost translate that verse, the trouble for every day is sufficient for that day. So you're gonna have a sufficient amount of stress even this day, that's gonna help you through the rest of the week. So anyway, let's take a look at Isaiah 43. I was, speaking of the hospital, at Southern Hills Hospital, saying they've got my report for today. I knew it was gonna come in today, I just didn't know when. But, any rate, everybody found Isaiah 43?
That is my favorite verse, 2 and 3.
2 and 3. Oh, great. Well, this whole chapter is very, very interesting. I'm going to hit a few things that we're dealing with even right now. Would you like to read 2 and 3 then?
I can. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they will not overflow me. When thou walkest through the fire, you will not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. I am the Lord thy God, and the Holy One of Israel thy Savior. I gave Egypt for thy ransom.
Okay. Don, could you start up in verse 4? Go say through 8.
Okay. Since you are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you, I will give men in exchange for you, and people in exchange for your life. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bring your children from the east and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not hold them back. Bring your sons from afar and your daughters from the ends of the earth. Everyone who is called by my name, whom I created for the glory, for whom I formed and made. Lead out those who have eyes but are blind, who have ears but are deaf. Did you want some more?
Yeah, we're going through 11.
Okay. All the nations gathered together and the people assembled. For which of them foretold his and proclaimed us the former things? Let them bring in their witnesses to prove that they were right, so that others may hear and say, it is true. You are my witness, declares the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen, so you may know and believe and understand that I am he. Before me no God was formed, nor will there be one after me. I am even,
Go ahead.
I am the Lord, and apart from me there is no Savior.
Okay, maybe you have some folks that are relatives that need to know the Lord. And you need a promise from the Lord that he's gonna bring them in, that he's gonna save them. Well, I've got some in-laws that need to come to know the Lord, and some two grandkids that need to come to know the Lord. And so as I was reading these verses, you need a promise from the Lord. In verse 5 and 6, turned out to be that promise when I read that. And fear not, for I am with you. I will bring your descendants from the east and from the west. And then I read that, I said, okay, Lord, I got some descendants that need to know you from the east and the west. Well, what about the north and the south? I will say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not keep them back. Bring them sons from far off, and my daughters from the ends of the earth. So, as I was praying over that, I said, Lord, can I take that promise that you're gonna bring all my descendants in? And I was listening to another preacher, and this lady came in and said, I got some children, or got some relatives that need to be saved. And the preacher asked him, said, do you have a promise from God that God's gonna save them? Then you get a promise from God, and then you come back and tell me that promise, then I'll start praying for you. But until God gives you a promise that he's gonna do it, why should I pray for you? And I thought, well, that's pretty harsh. So she came back, I don't know, it sounded like a week later, a month later. And she said, I got a promise. He said, okay, let's hear it. Well, when it said in Egypt, they were gonna come out of Egypt in the Exodus. And she said, as I was reading that, God said, not a hoof is gonna be left behind. There's not gonna be anybody left behind. And that's God's promise to me that he's gonna save all my children. And so the guy said, okay, you got that promise, I'll pray for you now. And so he said, not a hoof was gonna, now that doesn't sound anything like praying for your family members to be saved. It doesn't sound like anything. But as you read through the scripture, you'll find a lot of things that are promises in the New Testament, but they don't sound like it in the Old Testament. But God will take something seemingly out of context and give you a promise. Now, moving along here, now there are some things in this chapter that God gets on to him a little bit. He said, he says later on, he said, verse 14, he said, for your sake, I'm going to turn you over to Babylon. Now the reason they got sent to Babylon is because of sin. And basically he said, the Bible says several times, don't despise the chastening of the Lord. Now that's something that's happened to all of us. But he says here, for your sake, I'm going to send you to Babylon. Basically, if we interpret it a little bit different, for your sake, I'm going to take you out behind the woodshed. And so you're going to learn not to trust in foreign gods. You're going to learn, I'm going to teach you a lesson. And that's going to be a 70-year lesson. You're going to learn it. And so everything that happens is something that happens for our sake. It's not, God just doesn't take pleasure in punishment. I mean, for a Christian, there's no punishment. It's always correction. The old statement said, this is going to hurt you worse than it is me. Well, that's not exactly what he's getting at there. He says, for your sake, I'm going to send you into Babylon. Now, one other thing, time's gone, but one other thing I want to turn over to. Now, this might hit us a little bit between the eyes, based on what I have observed, but it's important, verses 18 and 19. And then, I don't remember what translation you're reading, Don, but what translation are you reading, by the way?
NIV, it's a Rainbow Study Bible.
Okay, well, that's a good. Can you read 18 and 19?
Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the desert and the streams into the wasteland. The wild animals honor me, the jackals, the owls, because I provide water in the desert and streams in the wasteland to give drink to my people, my chosen.
Okay, but the two verses, now this is, New King James says, do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing, and now it shall spring forth, and you know not what it is. I make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. So, I remember a lot of things that happened to me, and in Brazil, one time I had my life all planned out. I mean, I was really cooking. I was doing Master Life and Experiencing God clinics 2 to 3 times a week, and I was loving it. I was in a plane every weekend. I was home during the week, but I was on a plane every weekend, going all over the place, doing what I love to do best. Teaching evangelism, teaching discipleship, teaching all kinds of stuff. And it was just great. I mean, it was perfect for me. And through a series of circumstances that I'm not going to go into, Lifeway came down and said, you're not going to do that anymore. I got a little depressed. And I said, okay, Lord, what's going to do now? I mean, I had a perfect life. I had everything going perfect for me. And then all of a sudden, I went a total different direction. And it was as good, if not better, than what I was doing. So, whatever God has planned for this church, and for you, rather, not for the church. You are the church, the building's not the church. Whatever God has planned is going to be better than it ever was before. It may not be what we want or like, but you can't do something different. When we had our goals at Brentwood, we'd write down a goal, and if it was a new goal, Jim Baker, who was executive secretary, executive pastor, he said, okay, I see you got a new goal down here. Show me in your past goals something you're going to scratch out, something you're not going to do anymore. Because you're not going to be able to do that new goal if you're still holding on to those old goals. So I want to know what the new goal you got planned. I want to know what you're cutting out. Because you can't do the new thing if you don't cut the old thing out. And so, that's just the way life has always been. When we left Brazil to come home, to come back to the U.S., I said, what am I going to do? Don't have a job, don't have a house, don't have a car, don't have anything. Well, I had a house in Houston, but I wasn't planning on living there. And so I didn't have a house here. And so, it all turned out better. I mean, I'm with you guys. I'm enjoying myself. It's been great. I mean, I wake up during the day and I said, I'm amazed that those folks tolerate me. I mean, they didn't. They didn't vote on me. I was just assigned to come here. So I'm half Methodist, I just walked in the front door and said, I was told to come here. So y'all didn't vote on anything. Of course, obviously you could have said, we don't want him here anymore. So in a sense, it was positive, negative. But at any rate, I've had a great time here. To be honest with you, I don't want to leave, but I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm prepared for it. That God's got something else. somewhere else or here. But that verse was a big help to me when he says, don't keep looking at the things can't stay the same. They're gonna change, but God knows they're changing, and they're gonna get better. Everything's gonna get better. Somehow or another, it's gonna get better. So, that helped me this last, I read this chapter here over the last month. And so that chapter's been significant, especially you're gonna walk. You've heard the song, some through the water, some through the fire, some through the flood, but all through the blood. Whatever that title of that song is. God leads his dear children along.